Dude, we're back with more video game talk this week. Hey, look, if you haven't seen the first episode, go back and watch that. It's good fun. It's insightful. I would say it's the most insightful, and also we're actually talking like...
We're actually talking, not just making jokes the whole time. And yeah.
We're in a position in which we're discussing something that we love that isn't the Disney Plus streaming service. So have a look at that. If you haven't already, hit a like, hit a subscribe.
Only one.
Just one, please.
Just one.
Please. We don't
want to get overwhelmed.
No. And we're going to get into our top 2 favorite video games plus some honorable mentions.
Yeah. So this is obviously continue on from last week or
whenever it was
previous
posted.
video.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Vincent?
When we start?
I'd love for you to start.
All right. Man. So number 2. Number 2.
We're getting here. Now, this is Vincent's second favorite game of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time.
And this is a recent game.
You're kidding me. I know what it's going to be.
What is it going to be?
Is it Last of Us 2?
It's Last of Us 2.
Right.
It's Last of Us 2.
It's Last of Us 2. That's wild.
It's Last of Us 2. Honestly, I don't think I've had a game that has affected me as much as this game, as Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
And now I love Last of Us 1. I didn't actually even put it in my shortlist.
It's not even in the shortlist.
Bro, I'm telling you, I've had connections with a lot of games apparently.
Yeah. That's understandable.
A lot of games.
And you'll talk about those in honorable mentions.
I will. So stay tuned. Last of Us 2. Bro, I wrote 5 pages on what I thought about The Last of Us 2 in a book. I just wrote it down.
Just as like a journaling sort of
I just wrote it down. I
exercise?
thought, you know what, I got to get my thoughts out because I've just been thinking about that. I finished that game and I just thought about it for honestly for weeks.
Because you're a man that not only do you like immersive games and ones that have a lot of, a world that is rich and diverse, but you're also a man who will immerse himself within the stories of those characters, and those will affect you outside of the game.
Yes.
Yes.
Very much so.
That's right.
I was listening to the Last of Us soundtrack.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I was listening to. I'm talking you pulling up to me beside me in a traffic light and the Last of Us soundtrack is you just got guitars.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. That wasn't actually any of the song, so
But I understand, because that is, not only is that an important, obviously soundtracks are very important to games and their themes are very important, but also it is important and integral to that story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was going to see what else I wrote there. But yeah, I mean, the thing with the game is at the start, I was not liking it. I was not liking it because the whole thing was, it was like a revenge game essentially.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the adventure I was on was to just take revenge. And I didn't like that because, I'm not a vengeful person. And I want myself in a video game to feel like the hero at least.
Yeah.
Or as in I'm doing something good. Little did I know, this game wasn't about me. It's about more than just me or you or anyone that played that game.
Exactly right. And it is evoking an emotion in you, and at the time you were thinking, this is not an emotion that I want to experience, but as the game progressed, you realize this might be an emotion that I need to experience and I need to learn from without actually being involved in those situations. That's
right. And I wish that I spent more time at the start and didn't try to rush things.
Yeah.
Because I was going, look, I'm enjoying this game. Like the combat's unreal.
Yeah. It's a big, the combat and the gunplay is a step up even from the first game, which was great.
Yeah. And I love that, but I just thought, you know what? I want to progress this story because I want to see what happens because I don't want it to just be a revenge thing.
Yeah. No,
and it was. It was. The whole game was essentially just getting revenge for someone else killing someone that the character had loved.
Yeah.
And still loves.
And that's exactly right. And we talked about this in After Dark in some significant detail. There's a whole episode that was after you had finished that was solely on The Last of Us. And I remember you talking specifically about, now this is again, we are talking about video games in depth, so sorry if this is a spoiler for anyone, but spoiler warning up top. The end in which Ellie is with, I think Dana, is it Dana? Is that her name? Or towards the end?
Dina,
that's right. Dina at their home, that they're living with their child, And there was an experience there that you had that was pretty major. And I think that was a major experience for everyone as well.
Yeah.
Could you explain that to the people? And
So-
to me again, because I want to remember it.
Yeah, I remember it.
And
So-
feel those emotions.
Essentially, Joel's brother, who dies at the start of this and was the whole reason for Ellie going after these people that had killed him.
You said Joel's brother? You said Joel's brother. Just say Joel.
I said Joel's brother. No. So Joel has died.
Yeah.
Joel's brother came to the house.
Yes.
That's what I was meaning to say.
Sorry, yeah.
Joel's brother, Tommy, came to the house and said, hey, I found her. I found Abby, the last person that you need to kill to complete this, justice.
The saga of killing.
The saga of killing. And, Dina's there going, nah, this is ridiculous. Get out of our house.
Yeah.
We're over this. Ellie's over this. But she's not over this.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have the emotional ability to get over it. And they've never worked through any of it. So she had trauma flashbacks earlier in the game, as in like just before. And when she got up out of her bed in, early morning, supposedly, she got all her gear and Dina was there. And I knew that Ellie was leaving to go find Abby and to kill her. That got me.
Yeah.
That absolutely got me because, on one hand, you think, oh, how dumb, how stupid. Mm-hmm. But you realize that Ellie is an individual who has killed many people from the age of, 12 or something?
Yeah.
I remember she said it in the game. I can't remember what. But she has been traumatized her whole life. Mm. She has no way to deal with the emotions that she's having. The only thing she's thinking is, this will help me feel better.
Yeah. And there's nothing else that will do that. And the loss of someone so important to me overtakes the fact that I have created a family and a life that is important to me.
Yeah, that messed me up a lot.
Yeah.
That messed me up a lot.
And also just from a game perspective, there's amazing set pieces. Like the one that always springs to mind when I think of Last of Us 2 is the first when you're running. I think you're playing as Abby. The first time you're playing as Abby, and you meet up with Joel and Tommy, and the Horde is chasing you.
And you're running from the Horde.
That to open up a game like that is amazing. And I thought, I was very, very...
Yeah. The end of that game when Ellie's sitting in the water and she's let Abby go because she's realized, there's no end.
Yeah.
Because Abby's got that kid, I can't remember the kid's name.
Yeah. You did mention it in the Patreon. I can't
remember the name, but yeah.
Ellie realizes that this is just this trauma is going to be one that continues through generations if I make this choice now.
Yeah.
So then she doesn't. And another thing that I think was great about that game is the fact that they created a character who we all hated. We all hated Abby at the start because she killed Joel.
Yeah.
And in such a brutal way. And then they created a character that I think is the best character in the series, in my opinion. I think that Abby is the best character in the series, not only to play as because, she's built.
Oh, bro. Honestly, the hand-to-hand combat with Abby was so much fun.
Yeah. But also because there's layers to her story, just like everyone else in the story. And it allowed us to be like, hold on a second. Abby's doing what everyone else is doing to survive, which is not a good thing.
No.
I'm not saying it's good things.
No, that's right. The world is not a good world that they've been brought up in.
But yeah, you fall in love with that character along the way and you enjoy playing as her as well.
Yeah. Naughty Dog knew what they were doing.
Bro.
They had The Last of Us. They had the relationship with Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And then they started off with Ellie being the one that we're rooting for. We're going, we've got to get revenge for Joel.
Yeah.
And Abby is the bad guy. Yeah. And then it switches. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you're Ellie at that point where you switch and you've just killed a pregnant woman.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. So you're going, you're questioning...
Am I following the right person?
You're following the means, and then you start off with Abby, and then you go through, and then you're going, and you see on both sides, and neither one is right.
Yeah.
But man,
and shout out to that game as well because it it created a lot of divide early because people were like, oh, this is PC gone mad. This is too woke. Because it put like female characters at the forefront of an action game that aren't, sexualized completely. We've seen some of those games, the Bayonettas of this world, which are fun games, but the reality is the reason a lot of people play them is because they're simps online and they want to just be seeing, anatomically incorrect females running around. Yep. Whereas this is real characters, real people, and it just happens to be that females are at the forefront of the story. I think that's good. And I think that it's hilarious as well when you see all the backlash about it. Because people have no other means to, put down that game. So they just say, oh, it's too woke.
It's too woke. And yeah, obviously, Ellie and Dina are gay.
Yeah. And there's trans characters in the
that's
game
right.
as well.
I don't understand. Yeah.
It's just the real world, isn't it?
It's just the real world.
It's just the real world. But Vincent,
I'll stop talking about that because,
I'm going to get into
your number two.
Which is also a number 2 of a series.
Oh.
Because it is Resident Evil 2, the remake / remastered version.
Is that a recent one?
That is a recent one. So that came out I'd say it came out in 2018. Yeah. Bro, we on. Yeah, so I believe it came out in 2018/19. Now this is, it's a remake from the ground up. So they completely took away everything and they made it from the ground up. It is the story of Leon Kennedy and also Claire Redfield. You can play as two. You can choose both stories. You can choose whichever one you want.
Was that the one where you start in like this village that's burned down?
No.
As in the original one. Okay. Because I played one Resident Evil and I think it was on my phone.
Yeah.
And the controls were so bad that I just switched it off. But I was in a village and I just couldn't turn around.
So and it was with Leon as well?
I think it might have been.
Yeah. So that is Resident Evil 4, I believe. That's Resident Evil 4. So Resident Evil 2, and I'll get into my love for Resident Evil games, but Resident Evil 2 is a story of Leon Kennedy. He's starting off as a police officer in a place called Raccoon City. It's his first day on the job. Now, as he's going there, he comes across a petrol station or a gas station, and he has his first encounters with zombies. Right?
Is this well into the zombie apocalypse in this game?
It's sort of just starting.
Okay.
And it's at this point it is within Raccoon City.
Yeah.
So within this city. So that's where the major outbreak has occurred. Now he gets into the police station and it's been, flipped upside down. There's a dude in there and he sort of gives you the rundown. He's like, there's things going on in this. He's on his way to death, right? He's knocking on death's door. He says there's horrors within this place, but you need to get to the bottom of it. Or at least Leon says, I need to get to the bottom of this, figure this out. Claire's story, very similar, but she is going to find her brother, Chris Redfield, who's a major character in the Resident Evil series. You can play as both of them.
Yeah.
And you
do play as both of them, or you can?
You can. So you can choose to play as Leon Kennedy, you can choose to play as Claire, but they also have different experiences within the game. Both of their experiences are really good and done really, really well in this game. So you do want to play the game twice.
Yeah.
Right?
That's cool.
The game is, it looks amazing, but it's one of my favorite games, and the Resident Evil series is one of my favorite series, is because you're always on edge.
Yeah.
Not only are you on edge because there's zombies, but you're also on edge because in this game in particular, there's a character called Mr. X. And when you get to a point, this big, 9-foot character comes into play. And it's this big dude wearing a trench coat. It's a white dude wearing a trench coat and a hat, right? And he follows you everywhere, all around the game.
As in he's there, or?
Well, there's times where you don't, and then you hear his footsteps, and then you look, and he's opened a door, and he's coming at you. So he's always around.
Oh, so he's not like your companion that's just tagging along.
He's trying to kill you.
He's trying to kill you. Is he a zombie?
He's made by the Umbrella Corporation, who's the people that are doing all the stuff. The name of him has sort of the name of what they call him. I think it's referred to as a tyrant. That's what they call these big bosses essentially. But there's a period in the game in which he's just following you. And you can shoot him as much as you want, and he'll take a knee at some point. You know, he'll propose to you and whatnot. He'll take a knee. His hat will fall off. The best is that you shoot his hat off, and he goes like this.
That's the best.
But the character design is amazing. But the fact that he follows you everywhere you go, there's no escape to him. That's always on edge.
When you first said that, I just thought, oh yeah, you meet this Mr. X guy, and he's just this tall bloke. And you're like, oh, okay, he doesn't say nothing. And he's just tagging along behind you the whole game.
Which would be hilarious.
Just going, all right.
And that has popped up in the other games as well. It's also popped up in Resident Evil 3, where you have I've forgotten his name as well now. But anyway, he's a tyrant who follows your character around. It also happens in Resident Evil 7, which I think is one of the best games of the series. It's one of the first next-gen versions before Resident Evil 2 came out. And it's when you go to this house looking for your girlfriend and you find these hillbillies, right? And the whole family are following you around the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Essentially. So
the whole premise of Resident Evil is there's a virus.
There's a virus. And essentially it's always Umbrella, and you have to try to figure out what's going on. And
are they all set in the same timeline, I guess? And you're just different people on this in this world?
Yeah, it is.
It's not like, oh, this is the Umbrella's done experiments on this man's, and now you've got this, and then this one they accidentally leaked it or something.
The idea that it is all set in the same timeline, and Resident Evil 6 tried to put that together, but was a pretty big flop.
Okay. But
the reason I love the Resident Evil game so much is because it is linked to my childhood very much. I chase zombies and whatnot. One of when we were younger, we got the PlayStation, and my uncle, who I don't know if he just didn't do any research into it or just it was the new hot game, he bought me and my brother Resident Evil.
Hey kids, you can play Resident Evil. How old are you now? 5.
And I feel I was around like maybe 6 or 7. I was young.
Because Resident Evil's been around forever.
I was too young to be playing Resident Evil, but we played Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1. And that game is so scary. Just the atmosphere of it is scary. One of the reasons is a lot of the time you're not hearing much. You're just hearing the footsteps of you or the zombies that are coming. But also the camera angles are never working in your favor.
Oh, definitely. That's the only thing I remember from playing a Resident Evil game is that the camera never went where I want it to go. And I'm going, bro, I could, if only I could see the back of me, I would be okay. But because I can only see like a little bit from a different angle.
Yeah. And that is that's a great part of the game because you'll be getting chased by something and you'll move into a different space and the camera angle will change, which means that your movement and where you're going to aim will also have to change.
You're going forward and the camera goes the other way and then you're actually running backwards now.
Sometimes that happens.
You're straight into Mr. X.
Sometimes that happens, essentially.
You just got to hope you smack off that cap quick enough.
Now, in the remakes, they have, and the newer games, that the camera system doesn't affect anything. So it's a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil 2, I'm just going to quickly so we can get into the next one. Resident Evil 2, the remastered version, my second favorite game of all time.
All right, drum roll, please.
Oh, this is your number one.
This is number one because
this is exciting.
Because Last of Us. So I reckon you would be able to guess what my number one game is, or roughly guess what my number one game is, because you're probably looking at it right now.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I wouldn't be able to guess the exact iteration.
No, I know. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
But it's a Pokemon of sorts.
It's a Pokemon game. It's a Pokemon game. Pokemon is by far if you just took a camera around this room, you would see it's by far my favorite property.
There was no way I could get that question wrong once you said you were looking at it.
Yeah, I know, because wherever you look, you were looking at it.
That's right.
You turn around, you're looking at it. So my first ever video game and video game console was Pokemon Emerald and a Pokemon Emerald limited edition Game Boy Advance SP, which is actually just over there. Oh, I don't know if you can see it, but it's just over there.
I think I can just see it maybe.
Yeah, it's in that cabinet.
Yeah.
And that was the first game I'd ever played, and owned myself.
Yeah.
I'd played Pokemon. One of our family friends lent me his Pokemon Blue, which we were at his house and I wasn't allowed to take it home. So I just played there And while I was in the car, I was still playing. My mum was going, "You got to give it back." And I was in the back seat of the car trying to squeeze every minute out of this game that I could. But I got Pokemon Emerald, and I absolutely love that game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've played every single Pokemon game since that and the ones that came before that.
And just looking around, Pokemon is not only a game that you like, but collectibles as well have become a big part of your life. For example, I can look up there and I can see a Pokemon Nintendo 64.
Yes.
I can see a Pokemon. Well, what's that next to the Switch there?
That's just like a Pokemon card box.
All right. There's Monopoly there. There's all sorts.
Yeah. There's all sorts.
Yeah.
So Pokemon is just, I think the whole premise of you can play this game as many times as you want, but it'll always be different because you can just catch different Pokemon. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is I never got into the anime.
Yeah.
So I never actually watched the cartoons, but just the games. I mean, number one, the nostalgia factor of the games. I never finished a Pokemon game until I was much older. So I got this when I was 10.
Yeah.
I don't think I finished a Pokemon game until I was about 15.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever finished a Pokemon game.
They're not easy to finish if you don't know kind of all the game mechanics.
Yeah.
And man, just the nostalgia of that game and the fact that I can play that and it's exactly the same as I remember it then, amazing. I don't think my life would be the same without Pokemon.
That's big.
That's big.
That's big.
That's big because, yeah, I mean, I just finished replaying another Pokemon game the other day.
Yeah.
And I remember playing the final battle of the game and I was walking around the room with my Nintendo Switch and I was smiling and I was yelling. I was going, yes, when I knocked out one of the guy's Pokemon. And it was wild and I was just having such a good time. And I was thinking, because there was a time where I thought the Pokemon games have been a bit easy for me. And it seems like they're actually getting easier to maybe, so kids at 10 years old don't get their Nintendo and just like
play like 5 minutes of it and I can't do this.
Like, this is too hard for me.
Yeah.
So, but I played essentially a modified version of the game where it was much harder. And I was going, bro, this is I love this.
Yeah.
This is my passion.
Yeah.
So I'm quitting this podcast and just playing Pokemon full time.
Hey, that's fine, man. Like, as I said, we can get someone else on here if you need to take that time to do your thing. And I can hold down the reins for a bit. It might be hard.
But you give it your best shot.
I'll give it my best
and
shot.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You can sit here still.
Yeah.
So then I at least can talk.
I'll be playing Pokemon.
I can talk towards someone.
Yeah. So Pokemon, it's got to be, I mean, I say Last of Us Part 2 affected me the most out of it, but the Pokemon franchise has affected me by far more than.
And also probably had a positive, obviously, like financially, like obviously you spend a lot of money on Pokemon related things, but has had a positive net effect on your emotions and your enjoyment of things.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. And there's excitement, obviously, because Pokemon are regularly releasing different things, whether that be, obviously you don't watch the animes, but whether that be new cards or new sets or whatever it happens to be, but also new games as well. So there's some excitement factor involved too.
Yeah.
And as we talked about before in the hit and run on the last episode, this is not a game that is affected by time. You can play the first Pokemon and still enjoy it just as much as the latest because the graphics don't matter.
That's exactly right.
And, you can get them on emulators as well. It's accessible. And it's also pretty easy to get the hang of once you get into it as well.
Yeah. So that's my number one.
Man.
So what's your number one? Will I be able to guess it?
I don't think so. Because when I said it to my my family, because I had to sit my family down and say, let's talk about this.
Listen, I've got something to tell.
And they understood it once it was finished. Once I said what I said, but initially they're like, oh, all right, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So, my mum was like, yeah, I've never seen a video game in my life, but that sounds pretty cool. So my favorite game of all time, and again, this is one of those things where I could say the whole series, I could lump the whole series into one, but I'm simply lumping one of the games. And it is Uncharted, A Thief's End.
See, I was kind of thinking about that. And I haven't put that on my list, but
Is it you were thinking about I'd like it?
Yeah.
Right.
And when you were talking about Naughty Dog before, I was going, bro, I forgot Uncharted.
I have a Naughty Dog bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Naughty Dog, mate, unreal games.
Yeah. So I remember I believe we got Uncharted, the first Uncharted on PlayStation 3. We got it in the bundle. So you know how you'd buy a PlayStation 3, you'd get the bundle of games. Yeah. You'd get, it was Uncharted was on there.
You got like MX vs ATX. Did you get that?
Probably MX vs ATX was in there.
Actually, no, that was actually really fun.
There was that like Hellblade game.
No, I don't remember that.
And I think it only went platinum because it was part of the bundle. But we chose to get Uncharted, and the premise is you are Nathan Drake, a guy who's a descendant of Sir Francis Drake, and your first thing is that you want to find
lost cities and things like that.
Yeah, you want to find El Dorado. That is what you're looking for.
Oh, that's right. That's the first one.
And it was the first next gen game we played. It was the first PlayStation 3 game that we had played. And it was a story similar to the Indiana Jones, similar to all those action adventure movies but you were the star. You were the man in the forefront of the game.
In the hat with the whip.
In the hat with the whip. But there was no whip, there was just guns and bombs.
Just guns and bombs.
And parkour things.
Oh,
like you were jumping, you were climbing. Every element of this game, including the characters, was amazing. And then the second one came out, which I've forgotten. I always get mixed up between the names.
Yeah.
I know that there's Uncharted Drake's Deception, there's Uncharted something else. But the second one came out, and I'm thinking, how's it going to get better? But it did.
Which one was the second one where they go to the place and they're superhumans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the first one I played. I don't actually know if I played the first one.
That's all right. It's harder to go back to. That's the one thing about it. It is a hard game to go back to, the first one, but it's still good.
Yeah.
And they have the box set to go back to it. Like you can get them all in one thing.
Yeah.
But the second one got even better, and the third for me got even better.
That second one was amazing. Game.
The second one's great, and that's when you're finding.
That was another thing. We played these games separately, but we played them around the same time. So it was something that we both
enjoyed and talked about.
Yeah.
So in that one, you're finding the Chintamani stone, and in the third one, you're finding yourself. No, you're finding. I think you're finding like the lost city, like a lost city.
That's what I thought it was, the lost city.
Yeah, I keep thinking the Sands of Time, but that's like bloody Prince of Persia.
I'm thinking, I'm getting mixed up with Tomb Raider, because Tomb Raider you're finding lost cities.
But then Uncharted: A Thief's End came out. This was a PlayStation 4 exclusive game. This was really the step into the next gen that we know and love today, which is now getting even bigger with the PlayStation 5 coming out as well. And this is a game. It's not the latest Uncharted game, because I'm pretty sure like a Lost Legacy or Uncharted: A Legacy come out, which has been like a offshoot of Uncharted, but it's still apparently a really good game. I haven't played it, but Uncharted: A Thief's End is a story of Nathan Drake, and he's out of the business. You know, he's being a he's living with his wife, he's doing family things. He hasn't got a child at that point, but he's just doing the things that you do as a retired, jewel thief.
Yeah.
Although he's not a jewel thief. Then his brother comes into the picture, and his brother says, I've been in prison for this many years. We were in prison together. You thought I was dead, but I'm here, and I need your help. And there's this scene at the start where you sit down with your brother, you're having a chat as the sun is going down, and you get a choice. And you say, which adventure should I tell him about? And you look there's one that's El Dorado, there's one about the Chintamani stone, and there's one, the third game as well. And you choose, and he says a different thing at each time, and by the time they finish talking, it's like dark out, because they've just been talking about his adventures, and this makes Nathan Drake get the feelings of, I need to get back into this. And this is also the other layer is that if I don't get this, my brother's going to be in some serious peril. So you go through this game. The addition that they add to it is that they add a grappling hook as well. So you can like swing from bigger things. There's another layer of elements associated with the parkour and associated with getting from point A to point B. The set pieces in all these games, the major set pieces, are amazing. You've probably seen the one where they used it, like where you're at the back of a car and you're sliding, and you're holding
I
onto the
think I've
grappling
played
hook.
this one. I'm pretty sure I've played this one. This is the one where you can play Crash Bandicoot as a minigame.
That's right, yeah.
And you're in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played this one. I don't remember. The only one I really remember is the second one.
And the second one has one of the best set pieces, which is when the big like chopper gunner is coming at you and it's shooting and the building starts falling down and you're in the building as it's falling down and you have to just work your way out of it. But
Oh, the third one was which one was the one with the pirates?
one with the pirates. Pirates?
Maybe that's Tomb Raider.
Right.
That could be Tomb Raider.
I don't really remember pirates as such. Like there's pirate looking people, but like not pirates as such. But you're globe-trotting in this. Don't worry about Tomb Raider right now.
Yeah, I was going to look up which one's the one with the pirate treasure.
You're globe-trotting in this game, right?
Yeah.
You're going to all these different places. But the reason I love it the most out of all the games, because I would say that the other games are great. I'd say that the fighting in all the other games are great. I'd say that the stories are equally as good in all of the other games. Specifically, I think that number 2 and number 3 are probably the best in regards to story as well. The way that this game ends, there's so many ways that because this is the end. This is it says
They're not
that
making
Thief's
any
End.
more.
I mean,
As in Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
This is the end for Nathan Drake.
I think so. So when you hear about that, or when you're going into this story, you're thinking, how is this going to end? There's so many ways that it could end. One of the ways is that he can die. He could die, but what's that going to achieve for his story and his character? And I think the way that they ended this game was the perfect way.
Did he have a kid?
So he had a kid, and instead of going out and doing the things that he did and, continuing his story, he's just like, nah, this is it for me. I've found the treasure, the thing that I was looking for to make me whole. The reason I had to jump onto every single adventure in the past is because I was missing something. But now I've found it. And I'm content here, and this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And you end off on this island with your daughter, I think she's swimming. Elena, who's your wife, she's just sitting there. And I think Sully's there as well, who's like your mentor throughout the game.
He's just there, bro. He's not going away. He's like Mr. X. He follows you everywhere.
He just follows you around.
That guy's hilarious.
He's hilarious. And he's a great character as well.
He's a great character because he's just an old dude that just seems like he's too old to be doing these things. And he seems reluctant to be doing a lot of the things.
And the only reason he does it is because he sees Nathan as his son.
Yeah.
But also he's wearing Hawaiian shirts, he's smoking cigars. So he ends off in that story and you finish off feeling like you've completed this man's... You've gotten to a point where you've led this character to being exactly where you wanted him to be.
Yeah.
Because even though you loved the adventures, you didn't want to see him continue these because you knew what it was doing. And the fact that it ended off like that, I remember getting to that end point and I was just like, there's no way that this could have been any better. And that's why it's my number 1. Now let's get quickly into some honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's wild because, I got to replay that again because I've definitely played it because I do remember all those, especially the end part when he's with his daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got to replay those games because they're just so much fun. I don't know. That's definitely an honorable mention, just that whole franchise.
Yes. And I'd love to lump them all together, but have you got some honorable mentions?
I've got some honorable mentions. Okay, so Ark Survival Evolved.
Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
I've heard of that game.
So that's a game where essentially it's a sandbox game where you just get thrown on an island and there's dinosaurs.
Oh my goodness.
And that's the game.
And you have to survive?
You just survive, yeah. It's like a Minecraft, as in you just build things and you form... there's online, so you can form tribes with other people, but I just play by myself because I don't have any friends. And you just go around taming dinosaurs and building like a castle.
Wow.
And that's it. And that's the only game that I played more than Fallout 4.
I was going to ask, what was the game that got more Steam hours than Fallout 4?
I think it almost got 1,000 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hours.
The only game that I think I've played, so in Pokemon, in the remake of Ruby and Sapphire, which is the same, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald were the same generation.
Yeah.
That remake, I've got the maximum number of hours on the game time. 99999. So 999 hours and 99 minutes or 60 or 59, I think, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the only other game that I've played more than Ark Survival. But Ark Survival Evolved, unbelievable.
Right. Wow.
Give me one of your honorable mentions.
I'm going to say that one of my honorable mentions, this was originally on my list, but then I was having a conversation yesterday and the Warriors came up. It is Sonic Adventure 2 on the GameCube.
Interesting.
Now, this is a game that I never bought, but I rented from Blockbuster that many times.
You paid like 3 times the value of that game.
Yeah.
You were keeping Blockbuster afloat.
Dude.
If this guy just keeps renting Sonic Adventures 2 on the GameCube, we'll be able to keep this.
And, I didn't do overnight rentals. I did weekly rentals.
That's wild.
So that game, I played it so many times and played the same mission so many times, but I loved every second of it. It wasn't Sonic in the traditional sense, which I love the Sonic games as well, and they're games that I played on Sega growing up.
Yeah.
But it was more of a 3D approach where you could run around and jump onto things. Like it was like more of a, I don't know how you'd call the game, like what you'd call it, but the soundtrack was amazing. The characters were amazing, and also you could create like these. As you progressed, you get these like gems, and you create like these animals on this island, and you can like have them wrestle each other and have them do like activities and whatnot.
That's wild.
Anyway, yeah, Sonic Adventures 2, Adventure 2.
Adventure 2. All right, so another one is Age of Empires. The original Age of Empires, which is by far probably far inferior to Age of Empires 2.
Age of Empires 2 is insane.
But Age of Empires 1, we used to play at my primary school.
Yeah.
When we had, the end of school.
Yeah.
On the last day, we just play Age of Empires, and there'd be like the whole class playing Age of Empires, and it would be wild. And I still love that game. I've played most of them now. Mm-hmm. But Age of Empires, I love those city building games, and then unbelievable.
I wish that I could play Age of Empires 2.
Yeah.
But turn off like battle mode or whatever, and make it like a pacifist game.
Yeah, a lot of the times I just played in creative mode, essentially, where I just built a city.
Because I would always die. I'd always be so under-evolved compared to the other people that I was versing. So I'd always have to be like Big Daddy or Big Mummy and get like the cheats going.
Because I play with my friend who I played soccer with. Actually, you know him. And we used to play... Sorry. We were playing soccer together, and he was saying how he loves Age of Empires. And I was like, oh, yeah, we should play sometime.
Yeah.
And we played, and he wiped me out straight away. Because I was just like, I'm going to build my walls. I'm going to get to the last age. He attacked straight away. My villagers were just standing there.
They weren't ready.
Like stun mullets.
They didn't have no sticks, bro.
They didn't have no sticks. I didn't have no horses. He had horses.
Oh, my goodness. That's exactly right. Like heads know if you know what's going on in Age of Empires, you can win really easily.
That's right.
But I love it as just a sandbox game as well.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna rattle off a couple here.
Yeah.
So, State of Decay.
Yeah, great game.
Unbelievable game. Yeah. Zombies. Dead Island.
Yes. Dead Island 1.
Dead Island.
Well, I mean, there's no Dead Island 2, is there?
There's Dead Island Riptide.
Riptide, that's right.
Which is still just as fun.
Yeah.
Those games are so much fun. It's insane. And No Man's Sky. Mm-hmm. That's another. You're in the world.
Shrouded in controversy as it came out. But
and now it's game. They just keep. Bro, I don't understand how they work that fast. They're bringing out DLC free. Week after week almost.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And Midnight Club 2.
Right.
Which is my favourite racing game ever.
Yeah.
That I used to play with my cousins on PlayStation 2.
Yes. I'm going to rattle off a few. I'm going to say Mafia. In very similar vein to, those games like Driver of the time.
Yeah.
Like similar to Grand Theft Auto in a way, but very much focused on you being a mafia, like a member of the mafia and building your way up. And they've also spawned many sequels. I'm going to say, it fell out of my mind. When you were saying zombie things, I'm going to say Mickey Mania, which is a PlayStation 1 game, which was one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
Again, that's a game that I played so many times, but I can only remember like 3 levels.
Mickey Mania, that's wild.
There was, bro, it was in my head. That's it. Getaway Black Monday.
What?
Which is this random game. Again, it was one of those like Grand Theft Auto was big. So they're like, let's make this game. And essentially you are I think you play in multiple stories. You play one as a police officer in London.
Yeah.
And you play as like someone who's, I think he's involved with like the crime side of things. And you have 2 sort of parallel stories which eventually end up meeting. And it was actually a very, very good game. But
never heard of that.
I know, and I don't think a lot of people have. And I don't know the reason why we got it. The final one, Need for Speed games, amazing.
Need for Speed, yeah.
Need for Speed Underground 2, I believe, is one of the best games of all time, one of the best soundtracks of all time. But Need for Speed Most Wanted was a game that, if we talk about hours,
That's
me
classic.
and my brother clocked hours on that game. It was because that was at the time of Fast and Furious becoming really big as well. Need for Speed Most Wanted. You're racing people for pink slips. You're evading the police officers. You're running into things, so then it crushes the police cars. It was one of the most amazing games of all time.
That's wild. Anyway, I was going to say more things, but bro, this is a 40-minute video, so.
That's wild to me. This is meant to be split up into.
I know.
I think we might need to release these as podcasts or something.
Far out. No, bro, we're just going to release them everywhere. They're going to go everywhere. Anyway, like and subscribe. See you later.
See ya.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Talk soon.
Press pause.
Ah.